Oh!
生きてが手が重なっていた。敵だった自分が招いたことだ。
I just need a moment. Lacan and Mama's mothers are both victims of circumstances that's larger than they are. Hello, friends. My name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated licensed psychotherapist and your favorite yapper. Welcome back to my detailed analysis of the Apothecary Diaries, episode 23. Apparently, this is a highly anticipated episode, as many viewers said I cannot wait to watch this episode. So I'm extremely hyped to see what else unfolds in this week's video. Athanasia Zero, Tirtanas, Uixiang, Samsonian, Helixi, and Jin Ichimaru are the sponsored tier highlights of today's video. Shout out to your support. Remember, you matter, you are worthy. Sit back and hope you enjoy. And let's get mind blown together. Mei Mei? Mama's mother playing Go, Paduk. The caption or translation, the subtitle just said, "Where is she? She cries." Was that a monologue murmured by Mao Mao's mother? Because obviously she has syphilis. It sounds like it's a very terminal stage at this point, almost irreversible and incurable because it was too late. They didn't trust Luo Lan back then, which of course circumstantially makes sense. So even in that delirium state, when Mama's mother is now fully there, if that was indeed murmured by the mother, she's like, where is she? She cries. What does that speak to Mama's mother? Is that her maternal instinct? Because instinct transcends thoughts, consciousness. Instinct is a subconscious, unconscious response, embedded and ingrained to the deepest core of our nature. So does that mean that Mama's mother was a good mother? She does indeed love or loved Mama. What is the meaning of that? Where is she? She cries. And did Mama's mother actually say that? Or was that just a translation error? Interesting. Wow! Mama is challenging her father to play a few games of Go, the very game that Lacan's best at and best known for. How, I don't want to say it's twisted, but the audacity, the balls of steel that Mao has to challenge her father at his own game. Psychologically, it's so powerful because she's like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of running away. No more. I will confront you head on and I will best you at your best game. So I will no longer live under your shadow. I am me. You can no longer control or influence me. That empowerment is amazing. And that's the same empowerment I want to encourage all of us with our trauma, circumstances, things we cannot control. Because most things in life we cannot control. The only thing we can control is how we respond to the things that happen to us. It's the response to the stimuli, to the situations. That is empowerment, taking back to control. That's what Mama was doing. I did not expect Mama challenging him at Go. Wow. For my lovely daughter. Wow. Wow. Enough said. Best of 5? Jean, she's like, ooh, Mama, are you sure? Huh? You're great, but this is your father, Lacan, and he has, what, 4 or 5 decades of experience on you? Although I don't really know how old Lacan is. And you see the weariness in Jinshi and Gaoshan's side glare. They're like, ugh, right? But again, twofolds. Lacan is offering handicap to Mao because I do think he does care, sounds like, about his daughter. because he did stand up for her in front of that palace guard. Yeah, and yes, I understand that palace guard was simply doing his job, right? And a lot of folks talked about in light novels that palace guard was eventually punished by Lacan, but eventually reinstated because at the end of the day, guards have a job to do, and he doesn't know who Mama was. I think that's truly, truly valid and makes sense. But here, again, Lacan's, I guess, love for Mama, or at least consideration for Mama, is very obvious, level one. And level two, I wonder if there's a deeper psychological tactic there that, oh, you're trying to challenge me in my best game, so let me offer you a handicap. I wonder if that's a effort by Lacan psychologically to counterattack Mao Mao's psychological tactic of trying to best him at his best game. Because if he offers her handicap and she does win miraculously, because I think it will take a miracle to beat Lacan at his best game, because realistically, what are the odds of that? Is that, oh, sure, you beat me, daughter, but I gave you handicap, so it doesn't really count. Or am I overthinking, and am I not giving Lacan enough benefit of the doubt? But we shall see. Oh,
うちの子になってくれるね。何も口を出さない約束でしょ。しかし。
Yo, we see Jinshi sweat right there, like a sweat drop. Wow. Sounds like Jinshi already spoke with Mamao before this, that he promised not to intervene, because obviously this is now no longer about Jinshi and Lacan. Now this is a direct confrontation and direct match between Mamao and Lacan, like I talked about. So of course Mamao does not want outside intervention, even if that's coming from her prince from a shining armor, because she's like, this is between him and I. I need to take this on. This is my ownership, my responsibility. I am accountable for my own future, is what Mama was saying, by asking Jinshi to not intervene. And of course, Jinshi loses his composure. He's like, but, and of course, Gaoshan, the more grounded one, the more mature adult, stops Jinshi. Hey, you promised. This is not about your feelings. This is not about your fear that Mama may lose and end up living with her father, but this is up to Mama, because she has made a decision. She has decided to take her destiny, reclaim her destiny in her hands. This reminds me of something I tell my clients often. If we do not make good decisions, if we do not block our schedule, if we do not prioritize our life, whatever that may be, someone else will make the decisions for us. Someone else will dictate our life. Someone else will hijack our schedule. If we do not protect and safeguard what's important to us, like boundaries and such, other people will make that decisions for us, whether we like it or not. So we have to be the frontier. We have to be the vanguard to protect and safeguard and fight for what matters. That's what Mama is doing. She is the vanguard of her own destination, her own destiny, just like all of us. And last thing I would say is Lacan's smile. Would you live with me if I win, with the reward in this bet? The smile looks pretty genuine, actually, I would argue. But again, based on my previous analysis of, I thought Lacan was like a sociopath, right? So I guess sociopath, obviously they could do pro-social masking, which is to disguise their antisocial nature. So that could be a possibility. Or Lacan could actually genuinely love his daughter and genuinely wants to live with her because obviously he wanted to buy her out, and did all these psychological tactics and chess moves with Jinshi, trying to reclaim her, right? So a lot of possibilities there. Very, very interesting.
ですが雇用中の身ですので、年季が明け
晴れているのかい？
はい。
へえ。
その代わり、
Also, the animation, the animal metaphors that the writers or the studio decided for Lacan is a fox, like a sly fox, makes sense. Foxes are usually known as being very smart, very sly, very slick. And foxes are usually used as a very negative way in anime shows portrayal versus cat, which is Mao Mao. And obviously cat's also very agile, very smart, which is Mao Mao. And fox and cat has very similar characteristics. But cats are usually in a more adoration perspective, and fox are more in a less so matters. So I think even the choice of that animal to depict Lacan metaphorically and symbolically is also very interesting. But Mao Mao's I don't mind. And look at how composed and matter of fact Mao Mao is. There's no emotions. Her tonation, her tonality is very, very consistent, very stable. There's no fluctuation. So she could be disguising and suppressing her emotions because I'm sure the level of visceral discomfort Mama was experiencing just being here, challenging her father, playing Go, talking about bet, the reward, and Mama possibly having to live with her creeper dad, using her words, is unfathomably uncomfortable. Yet she is so composed, no emotions. This is life and death match for Mama. Because from Mama's perspective, to live with the perpetrator that ruins her mom, her life, all the trauma, the source of all her trauma, or many of her trauma, that's unbelievable. That's literally equivalent to life and death. Because what is the life of a prisoner? Isn't it better to be dead? Very, very interesting.
6章間の議女を一人見受けしてもらえないでしょうか。
何を言い出すのかと思えば。来たか。それでいいというのなら飲むしかないのだがね。
Lacan said, oh, so that's your first move. Even his verbiage is all about chess and go. Your first move. Obviously, we saw Lacan's perspective in last week's episode for the first time. He sees everyone as pawns, chess pieces if they're upper rank. If they're lower rank, they're just go pieces. Meaningless, to be used against, to be exploited, which is very antisocial. But again, like I talked about at the end, that could be antisocial or that could be like a neurodivergence, autistic traits based on lack of social cues and difficulty with interpersonality and so on. So many, many possibilities there. But so interesting in Lacan's personality, his perspective and all that even shows up in the words we use. And that's the field of social linguistics. Definition right here, social linguistics. Our linguistics, compositions of our words, how we use metaphors and so on, it's extremely pivotal to social interactions. Social linguistics is fascinating. Mama was so calm.
匂いからしてきつめの蒸留酒か。ものすごく嫌な予感がする。
Yo, Gaoshan and Jinshi, obviously they don't want to interfere, so they're standing like to Mama's side and behind her, obviously as her shield to still not maybe intimidate, but also to remind Lacan that, hey, don't forget about us. Don't forget who you're messing with, right? But of course, Lacan wants to claim her daughter's ownership and take her back. But at the end of the day, having her shields, her guardians, is extremely powerful psychologically. And I wonder if that will throw Lacan off his game. But of course, they're still like, I have a bad feeling about this. I feel bad for Gaoshan and Jinshi's eyes because I'm sure their eyes will get really sore from side glaring the whole time.
瓶の液体を3つの杯に入れて、どれに入れたかわからないようにします。
What?
頭部1回
えぐいことを考える。
そして
Goosebumps. Mamo's like 1 drop is medicine, but 3 drops is poison. She literally poured a decent amount into each cup or whatever random assignments. Way more than 3 drops. So this is her ultimate move. Again, what I say, life and death, metaphorically. But, right, life of a prisoner is equivalent to death for Mama. But on the other hand, Mama is actually putting Lacan's, her father, creeper father's life at stake. Because losers will have to randomly choose, and there's 5 cups. So the odds is 20%, right? And each time, every time you win, winner gets to choose and loser has to drink. So what is it? Best of 5, and there's 5 cups. And I'm guessing she put the drops into 2 or 3 cups, right? So the probability is pretty high. So she's betting her future freedom or lack thereof freedom and Lacan's life by ingesting poison if Mama were to win. Whoa, this is a death match. Makes sense? Wow.
構わないよ。
これは揺さぶりか。確かに普通の相手ならひるむかもしれない。しかし、相手は鬼人と言われる軍師殿である。
A famous weirdo strategist. I love that. True.
一体何を考えているんだ。
So I'm looking at Mama's facial expression. She's not frowning, but you can tell her eyebrows are kind of tilted. So she's very, very focused right now. And I'm sure her brain is going hyperdrive, as so is mine right now, except Mama does not have the power of caffeine as I do. She doesn't have a performance enhancer, aka caffeine. But of course, she doesn't need it. Lacan doesn't need it. But like Jinshi said, I am extremely curious. I too am curious about Mama's internal thought process. I hope the show reveals her internal monologue throughout the series and also Lacan's. This is a fascinating beginning to the episode, and I see why this is highly anticipated. And obviously, I've been yapping for 20 minutes and we're 4 minutes in. Ooh, I'm feeling tense. I'm having heart palpitation. I don't know if that's from coffee or just from the intensity of this match. Oh, this is tense. Oh, I'm nervous. Damn, another one!
また負けた。これで2連敗だ。
She lost again, but did you see her blush? She drank and she's like, ah. That was not a sigh of defeat. That was not a sigh of despair. That was a sigh of like this. That was a refreshing sigh. That was a sigh of satisfaction. She's indulging in her passion of digesting poison. And of course, like I said, I think all of this is calculated. Mao Mao is extremely, extremely smart and also strategic, just like Lacan.
多少は心得があるのかと思いきや。
She doesn't?
実践の経験はないようだ。
Bruh. So she's never played. She just knows the rules? That's true. And think about the historical context. People who can play chess and Go, even now, but let alone in this historical period, you have to be very privileged. You have to be literate. Chess and Go were not a commoner's game. It was a nobleman's game. Playing games is a sign of privilege. Mao Mao did not grow up with privileges. Quite the opposite. So of course, I'm not surprised that Mao Mao does not know how to play. But the question remains, just like what Jinshi is saying. What is she thinking? What is Mao Mao thinking? And of course, I'm sure Mao Mao is thinking a few moves ahead. I'm sure Lacan is thinking 5, 6, 7 moves ahead on the chess game, the actual physical chess game. But I wonder on the metaphysical, on the invisible chess game, what is Mao Mao planning? Do you see this parallel process? Lacan, physical thinking, Mao Mao, non-physical, but they're both thinking many moves ahead. At the end of the day, I wonder who's going to lead by one move, because that one move could create a checkmate, either literally or metaphorically. Oh, man.
毒入りかどうか旗目にはわからない。
Right?
3戦目も私からでよろしいですか？
ああ、いいよ。
毒入りだとすると、3杯目を飲むのは危険すぎる。この状況を、ラカンはどこまで読んでいるのか。
参ったよ。
お情けでも勝ちは勝ちということでいいですね。
ああ、間違っても娘に毒を勧めるわけにはいかんからね。どれを選んでくれる？
好きなものをどうぞ。
娘に毒が及ばないとわかるだろう。そのためにわざと負けるとは、やはり抜け目のない男だ。
I see. Interesting. That makes sense. Again, Mamao's composure. Fascinating.
嫌な味だ。
毒入りだ。これで薬屋が3杯目に毒を飲む心配はなくなった。
私が勝てばうちの子になってくれるね。
This is fascinating. Based on Jinshi's analysis, which I agree with, Lacan mitigated the risk of a potential fatal outcome for his daughter Mama. So again, the question remains, does Lacan actually care about Mama? What is going on? Is he truly a perpetrator per Mama's perspective?
それに暑いな。
Oh!
Sake? どういうことだ？
じい様、酔っているだけのようです。
は？
Yo! Mama, who the heck are you? Wow.
この人。
そういえば、いつもジュースばかりで酒を飲むのは見たことない。
Oh.
ではさっき入れた液体は？
All these clues were revealed throughout. And makes sense why Lacan avoids alcohol, right? As you guys know, I don't drink alcohol. I quit drinking alcohol 6 years ago because I was a functioning alcoholic and it ruined my relationships. My wife almost broke up with me at the time when we were dating. And because of that, I didn't want to lose my wife, the love of my life, my best friends. That's why I quit drinking for good. And I've been sober, haven't had a lick of alcohol in the last 6 years. That's my choice. I'm not trying to be virtuous and holier than other people. I go to bars sober all the time. I drink non-alcoholic beverages. They taste the same and it's great. So I don't mind. A lot of my friends drink. It's okay, right? Everyone is entitled to their own lives and choices. But the same reason for me quitting drinking was for my wife and also my health, cognitive abilities, right? Because obviously for academics, scientists, and psychotherapists like myself, our brains are our most valuable assets. Literally, it's our livelihood. For Lacan, it is the same thing. He does not want any mind-altering substances. He does not want any external influences that could compromise his intelligence, his ability to strategize. And you cannot be a master of Go, a master of chess master, if you are intoxicated, if you're not at your A game. You don't get to grandmaster level by drinking. For chess, which is the most prestigious rank, because I'm a big fan of chess as well. That's why Lacan doesn't drink. Makes sense.
アルコールです。さて、
Spirits?
さっさとこの男を運び出して、議論の花を選ばせましょう。
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. She won. Because forfeit is a forfeit. If you do not finish the game, you lose. This is the reason why that was one of the rules. Mama saw this. She mapped this out. Checkmate, Lacan. As I used to say, you MFer toe liquor, Lacan. But instead of licking toes, he licked liquor. And liquor won. But of course, that was Mama's chess move. Wow, man, I need to process what just happened.
乳母と母を間違えるどころか男女の区別もつかなかった。父が私に呆れ、これでは役に立たぬと。
Oh, jeez.
顔ではなく声や素振り、体格で人を覚えるんだよ。お前ならシャンチーかな。おじきだけは自分を理解してくれた。
Aww.
容量は悪いが優秀なおじきのおかげで次第に人の顔が駒に見えるようになった。
Chariot.
Naka, 付き合いで行った議論で噂の妓女と対決することになる。無数の白黒の中、そこだけが鮮やかに輝いていた。
Wow, goosebumps. Mao's mother.
フォンシェン。
Feng Xian. Feng Xian is the name of Mao's mom. I have a lot of yapping to said already, but I'm saving.
強いことであろう。確か
Wow.
に強い。けれど、所詮は井の中の蛙。
She's strong, but she only fights in her own world. Again, that's lack of privileges and the limiting circumstances for Mao's mother or all princesses. Sure, they're the elites, but they're still the elites of a brothel. They're still lower class citizens. That's what Lacan's talking about. Not in a degrading way, but just matter of fact.
それも圧倒的に。こんなに負けたのはいつ以来だ？
Wow. Wow. Feng Xian, you're a beast. This is a laughter of joy. Nothing is more intellectually fulfilling, intellectually stimulating when you find your match. And this begs the question I like to have a lot of hypothetical questions. Would you guys rather be the best among the worst or worst among the best? What would you rather pick? I think for intellectual like Lacan, I think he'd rather be the worst among the best. Because for him, I don't think it's about winning that really fulfills him. I think it's being challenged. It's growing. It's seeking. Because he's an intellectual. Of course, I could be wrong, but I'm just curious. Mamo's mom's face is revealed. Wow, dude, whoa, goosebumps. Yo, Mao's mom, wow. No wonder her reputation exceeds her. She looks obviously amazing, her defiant eyes. And I guess the criteria that requires for Lacan to see a human's face is when he's challenged and when he recognizes your humanity, aka your intelligence. If he respects you intellectually, then he will see your face. Otherwise, you're nothing but a pawn. You're beneath him. Game of chess. Kind of reminds me of a relationship like pen pals, people who write letters to each other, right? Not necessarily romantic, but there's some sort of a special affinity, like pen pals. It's a unique bond, like people who do book clubs and so on. Kind of like a pen pal vibe so far between Mao's mother and Lacan. They're chess mates. They're go mates. They're intellectual partners. It's very interesting. And one thing I was saving until the end, although, yes, I said I was going to wait and reserve my yapping, and I did. I kept it very brief, right? But I just couldn't contain my enthusiasm. This is an insane, freaking nuts episode, especially going from Mamo defeating Lacan at his best match. The show transitions abruptly into Lacan's upbringing, his backgrounds, and Lacan losing to Mao's mother in playing Go for the first time. Parallel process. Mao beat Lacan at chess, and Mao's mother beat Lacan at Go. Like mother, like daughter. One thing I will say, and what I love about this show is how nuanced the show is. It's the humanity of this show. I've said a lot of ugly words about Lacan. MFer, toe licker, ship bad, many things, right? And of course, I get carried away. Of course, I overcook sometimes, right? Because I'm not a chef, I'm a human. But what I mean by the show's ability to humanize a character is, and I do believe this, we should not be judged by our worst attribute. We should not be judged by our worst mistake because humans are complex. We are multifaceted. Lives are hard, period. We saw that Lacan indeed does exhibit neurodivergent traits, autistic traits actually. And I wonder, episode 23 is the reason why so many fandom chose to believe or led to believe that Mao Mao is autistic because of the genetic traits. Lacan said that, hey, ever since I was young, I could not differentiate genders and people's faces. It was all blurry. That could be a portrayal and depiction of lack of social cues, difficulty with interpersonal interactions, ability to reciprocate socially, the struggle. A lot of those are hallmarks of autism, ASD, autism spectrum disorder, as I talked about. And Lacan does display that just based on the blurry faces, right? And obviously, he also represents tremendous trauma. What is that? Tremendous trauma of her father leaving with a mistress, but abandoning him and his mother because they thought he was useless. That abandonment. What does that remind you of? Mama's trauma as well, right? So Lacan also had very similar and very traumatic upbringing. And it's very difficult to fathom that. And if Lacan is indeed a creeper, and all these antisocial traits, seemingly antisocial traits were displayed, could be not antisocial traits, but neurodivergent traits, right? Because sometimes it's very hard to differentiate. You need to have a trained eyes and a lot of knowledge. And it makes sense then, given his backgrounds, because he struggled with relationships. His very own family abandoned him. So imagine the eagerness for Lacan to be a father because he didn't have a father to begin with. The father abandoned him. So maybe his eagerness to take Mama back is not in a creepy, malicious way, but rather he wants to fulfill the role of a father because his father never did. Mama's grandpa never did. So maybe he wants to break that intergenerational trauma cycle. Or maybe simply, he just simply loves Mama. But because of his neurodivergent traits, he doesn't know how to express his love properly. He doesn't know what it means to be a loving father. But he tries in his own way. And shout out to Lacan's uncle. Sounds like a great man who didn't give up on his nephew, but taught him based on what Lacan needs. Right? We don't teach other people. We don't help other people based on always what we think is best. Of course, every relationship, every context matters and every case different. But the best and the most effective way of helping someone out is not based on our perspective, but based on their needs. We help other people, we provide resources based on their circumstances and their needs. Because we are not saviors. That savior complex, which is the big no-no. So in that sense, in that analysis, Lacan is trying his best based on his genetics and his neurodivergent traits. It's very fascinating. So again, my question begs, what kind of a man is Lacan? And is he really a good father who does not know how to be a good father, who does not understand how to be a good father because it was never role model after him? Interesting. It's fascinating.
母はおりません。私を産んだ女ならいますが、花町では義女。
I don't have a mother, although a woman birthed me. Again, that's a callback and a parallel process with Mao Mao. Mao Mao does not refer to her mother as a mother. She says the woman who birthed me. That's literally identical parallel process between Mao Mao and Mao Mao's mother. Sounds like they have a very similar trauma. That's true. She's the lead of the elite.
万人向けではないものの、一部の構図化に受けていたらしい。次第に値もつり上がり、
Wow!
三月に一
It's a
度
lot of silver.
やっとになった。
Hmm.
別名猫足
Wusoro, also known as a cat's foot, also named in the title. And cat's foot, who's our favorite cat? Mao Mao. A lot of references. Wow.
と同じで
Pretty flower.
成熟した実に触れると種が
Like the balsam touching a ripe fruit causes the seeds to burst. That's a metaphor for herself. Because that's how Lacan describes her. She's like a balsam, but that could burst upon a touch. So many symbolisms, so many metaphors.
次はいつ来られますか
Hmm?
ま
Mamo's mother did like Lacan. She's asking for his visitation. But because her price went up, he could only afford to see her once every 3 months. So Mamo's mom is the one who pursued Lacan, not the other way around. Did Lacan truly view Mamo's mother in a pure matter, like a pen pal, like a intellectual mate, like I suspected? Goosebumps. Oh my gosh, dude. This episode is flipping so many of my analysis and headcanoning and conjectures upside down. This is amazing. I love being proven wrong, right? Especially in anime's analysis, that's the whole fun. Being wrong is great because we learn. And that's what makes the show great. Great piece of art is supposed to challenge us, supposed to make us think, right? Art imitates life. This is amazing.
3ヶ月後に
Wow, great writing.
わかりました。
本線の身請け話を聞いたの
Wow.
はその頃だった。
Wow. It was like an auction. They were auctioning against each other to raise the price of the commodity, aka her. So Lacan couldn't buy her out is because of her price rose, not because her rejecting Lacan. And this is the why she was asking for Lacan, when are you coming next? Because she understood her imminent fate. She was getting bought out soon, and she knew that. But I don't think she shared that with Lacan. Maybe to not pressure him, not make sure he doesn't feel bad, because obviously she knows Lacan's socioeconomic status and his financial ability, because he could only come once every 3 months. So through that response and back and forth, she knew, I'm getting bought out because Lacan cannot afford me at this time. What the heck, dude?
武官として
Did
出
not
世した
expect
もの
this.
の異母兄弟に後継ぎの立場ではなかった。
Wow. Think about that another trauma and slap in the face for Lacan. He lost the title of heir to the family, this extremely prestigious family, to his half brother. And who's that half brother? Probably the offspring of his dad and the mistress by betraying Lacan and his mother. That's another triple trauma right there. Another quadruple or triple whammy for Lacan. And because of that triple trauma, another trauma, he couldn't see or buy out her intellectual mate, his intellectual mate, Mama's mother. This is so much complex interplay and so much complex trauma even for Lacan. And this is what I mean earlier. We need to try our best to not judge someone by their worst attribute because we don't know what we do not know. On the surface, again, Lacan was a shitbag toe licker as I suspected, and yes, I know. Benoit, you're saying you shouldn't judge someone by their worst attribute? Why were you so mean to Lacan, right? I know. Guys, I'm not perfect. Like I said, I'm not a chef. I overcook often. Of course, I burn things, right? And like I talked about, I have my own biases because all of us have cognitive biases. And the whole sexual trauma, suspected rape, and all that, I got activated because I work with a lot of sexual trauma and a lot of clients, as I talked about in episode 20, I think, towards the end. So yes, of course, I don't always follow the right things to do because I am nothing but a man. I am just a flawed human. But my point stands, right? So much complexity.
賭けをしませんか
Man,
あなたが勝てたら好きなものを与えましょう。私が勝てたら好きなものをいただきましょう。 お好きな番を選んでください。
ふと悪いことが頭をよぎった。
What's a terrible thought?
5でよろしいです。
A terrible thought is maybe Lacan, although he lacks the social cues based on the appear to be like seemingly neurodivergent traits as I talked about. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the writer. I don't know, right? Only the writer gets to decide the psychological profiles for these characters. But I think he kind of gathered that, oh, something's off. This is very sombering. We've never had a match like this with this wager, so to speak. I wonder if he understood at that moment instinctively that, is this my final game with her? And I wonder what is her wager. I can do whatever I want. Maybe, I don't want to, I'm just gonna, I'll wait.
メイメイ、試合にし、
Mei Mei! What? The go piece, the person that Mama's mom was talking to was Mei Mei? And this is why oh my gosh, this is why Mei Mei knows how to play Go. And this is why Lacan has been playing Go with Mei Mei. Because Mei Mei learns and absorbs from the very Go and chess master, Mama's mother herself. She's a protege. And I don't know if she's a prodigy, but she's a protege to Mama's mother. All of this makes sense. All the dots are connecting. Holy moly. Wow, dude. Mei Mei, what the heck? Wow. Wow. This episode's a lot. Oh. Oh.
手が重なっていた。
Ooh la la.
甘い言葉も何もなかった。私の二人だった。
子がやりたい。
自分とてシャンチーがしたいと思っていた。
After they just banged it out in bed, which is I don't know why I use the word bang. I'm sorry, guys. My brain is going bananas with just this episode is overwhelming. I see why this was so highly anticipated by many of you guys, right? Both of them both said, I want to play chess, I want to play Go. And I guess, does this also indirectly give us clues and thinking room that maybe Mama's mother was also neurodivergent, right? I don't think so. I think that might be a leap because not enough evidence and data has been revealed. But I think what is been revealed is that intimacy was not necessarily a reflection of love per se, but maybe a strategic move. Speaking of moves, by Mama's mother. Maybe she lost her chastity. She lost her virginity purposely to devalue herself because she knew she was getting bought out. So this was her own move to prevent her own fate of being bought out. Because either she likes Lacan or she doesn't like the guy who's buying her out. Or maybe it's just a pride thing. She's like, I want to control my own fate. I want to be the vanguard of my own destiny, which is what? A parallel process in the beginning of this episode with my commentary on Mao challenging Lacan head on. Take back control. Yes, my fate might be worse if I were to remain after being devalued. Yes, maybe I have to please other men out there. But I'd rather stay here for Lacan, or I'd rather choose the fate of my own by my own doing, by my own choice and my own decisions, even if that fate might be worse, versus being bought out by a really rich mercenary or very, very prestigious officers. Because at the end of the day, for Mama's mother, she chose that reality. She chose that destiny. And it is empowerment in a way. So many possibilities. But it is clear that the sexual advancements and the sexual intimacy that happens was not forced by Lacan. It was actually initiated by Mama's mother. Unexpected. And yes, at this point, there is enough evidence, right? And enough clues. Lacan, Master Lacan, my apologies. My sincere apologies for calling you Mother Effer, Toliker, Shepek Lacan. That's my bad. I take that back, right? Yeah. Man, what a surprise. That's the song she was singing in the beginning of this episode. So she sang that song multiple times, and it looks like they've engaged in sexual intimacy more than once. And remember, this is in secret. This is the reason why Mama's mother sent Mei Mei outside, right? Because obviously Lacan is only paying for the price of entertainment and playing Go and chess, but they actually had sexual relationship, which is the price that Lacan cannot afford. And actually, let me take a step back. I don't know if the princesses themselves or the elite, Mama's mother, do they get a say? If they want to have sex with patrons which they like, could they do that? Or are they limited by the rules? I'm sure after this incident, a pimp grandma may be creating new rules to prevent this from happening. So make sure her assets, the princesses, the elites, do not get devalued. So maybe it became more strict and there's more additional oversights that's been instated since this situation. But anyway, back to my point. All of this is consensual. All of this is voluntary, right? Because again, Lacan's only paying for meetup, hangouts, chess games, but they're doing a much, much more.
この3ヶ月後、
Man.
優秀だったおじきが失脚した。
高級の遺憾になったと思ったらつい
The woman was too stunned to speak.
First, you become a physician in the real palace and you become exiled. And we saw that limp with the cane. My head, someone help me. Too much information for a first watch. What the heck? Lacan's uncle is Mamao's adoptive father, Luomen. What in the F, dude? What is going on? What the heck? What does that make Lacan like? What is this complicated relationship? Lacan is Mamao's biological father, but Luomen, Mamao's adoptive father, is Mamao's biological father's uncle. So like a great uncle, like Mamao's grandpa. What? But this also speaks to Mamao's prestigious lineage. Bro, Mamao, you are not a commoner. You are a noble woman. Mamao, your future romance with Jinshi is actually possible. Because Lacan is coming from one of the most powerful families, and Mamao is from that lineage. Based on this reveal. This is the grand reveal. Oh my goodness, dude. Oh.
しろ
誘惑？
念のためだ
しかし、い
なんだ
え、なんでもありません。
Wow. So they come from Lacan and Luomen. They come from a very authoritarian family, like an authoritarian regime. And sounds like the father, the shipback father, Lacan's father, who ran away with mistress, abandoned, all that. And now it's clear. The true source, the true shit dad of the century is Mamao's grandfather, Lacan's dad. Wow.
線から不義があり、私も半年ほどで戻れるだろうと。
Her buyout arrangement fell out because she devalued herself with obviously sex and pregnancy in secret with obviously Lacan.
くくっていた。その時は。
And as soon as it said that their dynamic reminds me more of pen pals than typical lovers, they started writing to each other. Pen pals. That's nuts. Wow. Oh my gosh, it just hit me again. I just had another light bulb moment. This is the reason why Lacan couldn't buy out Mamao's mom. And I think that was the accidental, uncontrollable externalities that happened outside of Mamao's mom's control and Lacan's control. I think this was the plan. The plan was Mamao's mom was going to self-devalue herself with the man he loves, the man she loves, or at least adores or cherishes, Lacan. So she devalued herself. She made sure her buyout agreement fell out, of course. Pregnancy, all that. She lost her asset, which is a chastity, virginity. And then by her devaluing herself, she will become more affordable for Lacan, her prince in shining armor, to buy her out. But during the same period, because of the shit out of the century, Lacan's father, he was forcibly sent study abroad because they brought shame to the family because of Luomen's exile. So because of that, Lacan couldn't make it back within 6 months. And I'm sure through that process, I'm guessing that Mamao's mother caught syphilis because she wasn't bought out by Lacan because of all these circumstantial situations. And was this why Luomen was sent by Lacan to look after and try to treat? I'm getting so excited I could barely speak. To treat Mamao's mom at the time, but of course that didn't work because of lack of trust, and Luomen was a stranger, as the show already established. Oh, dude. Lacan and Mamao's mothers are both victims of circumstances that's larger than they are. Oh man. Dark show. 3 whole years! Fuck! Oh, it took 3 years. It's too late. Oh. Oh.
本線からの文がこんなに。
So many letters. On blood? That's blood? Bloodstains. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh.
土くれ？いや、小枝か？
What is that?
そんな呪いが流行っているのは知っていた。身請け話が破談になった原因。気づけなかったのか。ことシャンチしか頭になかった。こんな簡単。
Oh, Pimp Grandma! That's Pimp Grandma! Oh! So much grief. Bro, despite this, Pimp Grandma is a beast. I'm sorry, this is really dark. I had to light it up somehow. Oh my gosh, dude. Beast Pimp Grandma.
身請けの破談。その原因は、ポンシェの腹には。
She was pregnant with Mao Mao.
信用と。客を取り。いずれ。自分が招いたことだ。
I just need a moment. I did not expect this. I did not expect I'll be recording in the morning before I go into clinic. Ah, man. Yeah, I'll just say briefly because, man, I've been yapping for an hour and 12 minutes already. Lacan is a victim. Mama's mother is a victim. And Lacan does love Mama. Lacan is a good father. And he was trying, yes, he did lament. He was trying to redeem himself for failing, disappointing, and letting Mama's mom down, and also Mama. The amount of self-blame, shame, guilt, trauma for Lacan is unimaginable. The grief, the sadness, the feeling of utter helplessness, the feeling of complete powerlessness, the despair is probably what Lacan was experiencing. And of course, Mama's mother, who does not know where Lacan is, why he's not responding for 3 years. Where is he? What is going on? Was I abandoned? And of course, that is a false impression assumption by pimp grandma as well. Where were you? You didn't care about worthless courtesan? But that was not the case. Lacan was forcibly sent away. Speaking of prisoner, as I talked about in the beginning, Lacan was nothing but a prisoner of his father, the head of this powerful family. I feel like a piece of I feel like a POS. I feel like an absolute piece of shit for cursing Lacan out. Let my mistake and my false assumptions, because assumption makes an ass out of you and me. I made an ass out of me for sure. Let me be the example. Let's not judge someone by their worst mistake, and let's not make assumptions. Let's be a little bit more charitable. This is a powerful lesson for me. I'll be more thoughtful, a little bit more mindful moving forward, especially with a masterful writing like this show. So many tropes to be defied, so many smoking mirrors, so many misdirections. I should have known. What a great show, dude. What a freaking great show.
6章間か。
And this is a reason why Mao Mao grew up thinking he was a creeper dad. And this is a reason why Mei Mei, Pim Grandma, they're all trying to protect Mao Mao from Lacan because of the false assumptions. And knowing Lacan, and it's right now, it's pretty clear that Lacan is most likely neurodivergent. Probably he's autistic. Because of all those autistic traits, Lacan didn't have it in him to justify and explain what happened. Although that communication would have been very, very helpful. And that communication, I think, would have mitigated and alleviated all this tension and all these situations. But if Lacan communicated clearly, then we wouldn't be watching this show right now. We wouldn't have Apothecary Diaries because all the misunderstanding would have been cleared, right? So of course that never would have happened. But the point is, Lacan did not have it in him to explain because of guilt, because of shame, because of self-blame. No matter what happens, no matter the circumstances that was outside of Lacan's control, at the end of the day, for Lacan, he's thinking it's all my fault. I failed Mao Mao's mother. I failed the love of my life, my own daughter, as a result. I am a failure. I'm sure that is what's going through Lacan's mind. But it's not true, Lacan. You didn't know. You were also a victim, right?
メイメイ。
メイメイ。
私とてこうなるつもりはなかったよ。まさかあんなに強い酒だとは思わなくてね。メイメイとはよく遊んでやった。筋がいいと褒めたら、もじもじしていた。そういえば。
So Mei Mei likes Lacan because Lacan treats her with respect. Also, and I guess, again, back to my saying, right? Him seeing everyone as go pieces and chess pieces is not because he's sociopathic or antisocial, but rather it's his lack of social cues and I think neurodivergent traits. But because of that, Lacan treats Mei Mei very, very fairly. I know it sounds paradoxical, but it's not. He's not objectifying her, but rather he sees her for what she is. Remember, Lacan does not see the outside, the appearance, the physicality, the physical attributes. So he's not a shallow person, literally. He sees people for who they are, their inner nature, because he cannot differentiate faces or even genders. And I think Mei Mei feels that Lacan is the only patron that sees her for who she is in the inside, not based on the outside appearance. So much to process, man. My gosh, I need a therapy after this.
そうか。マオ
Oh, he loves Mao Mao. I feel like he was gonna lick those thing he spit out on the floor. It's like, oh, Mao Mao, let me get it back. Obviously, right? Because he's no longer Lacan. You're no longer a toll licker. You are a great person. You really are. Seriously. Like I said, I take everything back. But Yeah, anyway.
こちらの
Enough
箱
said.
もマウマウが
Blue Rose.
枯れた装備
たとえ枯れたとしても
Deep. Deep. I wonder what's the symbolism. Again, I might be overcooking as usual, but here we are. I wonder what the symbolism is behind this wither rose. If Mao Mao is that rose, or is that Mao Mao's mother being that rose and it withered? That means the rose was killed by Lacan. Again, based on Mao Mao's distorted and incomplete understanding of who Lacan is, based on everything we talked about. Or maybe even level deeper. A wither rose is still a rose and he still retains his shape based on what Mei Mei just said. You see, is Mao Mao saying, at the end of the day, no matter how much I hate you, no matter how much of a creeper you are, nothing can cut our bond of blood. No matter how much I despise you, Lacan, I am still your daughter, you're still my father. Although it's a wither rose, it still retains its shape. Do you get it? The bond is still there. I wonder which layer is the symbolism. Lacan is deep in thought. He's also trying to analyze the symbolism behind this wither rose. Basin's back! I'm very, very excited about obviously episode 24, the final episode, the season finale. Because I wonder, my last comment, I wonder what did Mao Mao take away from the beginning of this episode when Lacan purposely lost a match to make sure she does not ingest poison. Because that is an act of love. That's a gesture of love, full stop. And Mao Mao is astute. She understands. She's extremely perceptive. And because of her survival mode, she was trained since early on to differentiate fakeness from genuineness, true love from superficial gestures. So I wonder if Mao Mao can gather that from Lacan's move earlier, trying to protect Mao Mao to make sure she does not die from losing 3 matches in a row. Will Mao Mao's false perception about Lacan, just like as mine were, be shattered in next week's episode 24? Stay tuned. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, I've yapped about an hour and 22 minutes of this episode. That is nuts. As always, if you appreciate my yapping, smash that thumbs up. Make sure you don't miss our season finale next episode. And as always, join our Patreon family, our YouTube members, if you want to watch exclusive content and uncensored stuff. As always, I appreciate you for tuning in. And remember, you matter, you're worthy, and let's be a little bit more charitable towards one another. Because at the end of the day, like what Lacan demonstrated perfectly, all of us are victims to circumstances that is much larger than we are, that we call life and things we cannot control. Until next week, peace.